The Simply Successful program offers stress management tools for the lifespan, so small children, adolescents, or adults can be simply successful.
Hello, I'm Deb Timmerman.
And I'm Beth Tuttle. Welcome to the Simply Successful program. We teach stress management skills that build resilient kids, successful families, and thriving communities.
Welcome, everyone. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and our guest today is Vonnie Woodrick. She is the founder of I Understand Love Heals. Welcome, Vonnie.
Hi, Beth. Hi, Deb. Thank you for having me in today.
You're welcome. Tell our listeners what I Understand Love Heals.
Yeah. I Understand is a nonprofit organization that supports those who have lost a loved one to death by suicide or struggle with a mental health illness.
You're really trying to change the conversation around mental health and not make it be something that's shoved under the rug, but something that we talk about in current conversation. Tell us about your efforts.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct, and it certainly has become a passion of mine as I have lost my husband to depression about 15 years ago, and it was definitely not talked about then, and when we did talk about it, and many of us still talk about it, as a very dark and scary place to be. So one of our missions is by supporting those that have lost and supporting those that struggle is to change that conversation.
Describe some of the activities or some of the support services you have.
Yeah, one of the most important things that we can do and that what we try to do and empower others to do is talk. And talking about it will save lives. So we believe, we have many different things that we believe, but I think one of the most important things that we believe is suicide is a side effect of an illness. So if we look at someone that has cancer, what do? We talk about it with our family, we go to the doctor, get a diagnosis, we get treatment, and we do follow-up. What do we do when we have a mental health illness or issue? Sometimes we ignore it, we don't acknowledge it, we don't go to the doctor, we think our loved one may be defiant, they may be angry, they may be lazy, we think all of these things, when in fact, over 90% of those that die by suicide have a diagnosed mental health illness.
When someone has cancer, we also love on them. We go visit them, we bring meals. Does that happen when there is a mental health diagnosis?
I think that we're still loved on, but I think that there's a lot of judgment and stigma that goes with that. So it's really, the more we talk about it and the more we talk about it in a more comfortable way. Like for me, when I talk about my husband, I don't talk about him as him. Many people will say, oh, her husband killed himself. What does that do to you? That makes you kind of go, ooh, that makes you kind of, ugh. When I say my husband died of depression, and depression is like any other illness, like cancer, not everybody lives. Some people die. Mm-hmm. With depression, anxiety, addiction, not everybody lives. Some people die. So a side effect to a mental health illness can be suicide. And the more we talk about it, the more we know, the more we can help people understand that there is help available and there is treatment.
You shared some of your story with me about how you felt after Rob's death and how you felt in the community. Could you describe a little of that? Maybe some of our listeners are having loss and they can relate to your story. Yeah,
absolutely. I felt, I call it the turtle syndrome. I moved very slow because you experience trauma, you experience devastation. You wonder I wondered, is my husband crazy? Even though I knew he wasn't crazy. But you think that because you're so afraid to talk about it. So I would move out slow, stick my head out, and then I would hear someone say to me, or not to me, but, oh, her husband's the one that killed himself. Or, point. Like I heard the conversations. I saw people pointing. And that doesn't make you feel very good. So it makes you go back into that shell and not want to come out.
Well, that was part of the impetus to help you start I Understand Love Heals, was you just felt like you didn't have a place of support and you didn't feel like the conversations were open.
Mm-hmm. I felt really alone. And I think what I also did is I had to watch my kids feel very alone, because I had a 5-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 15-year-old. And how do you talk to a 5-year-old about this? How do you have a conversation about this type of death? People didn't want to talk about it. So I Understand came about once my kids were old enough to truly understand what happened, and it really gave us an avenue of almost a sense of relief that while we're talking about it, and simply by I Understand starting with giving away I Understand Love Heals t-shirts simply to evoke conversation, what does that mean?
We've actually had a couple of friends whose loved ones have taken their lives. They were children, and they felt a lot of blame and what did I miss and what did I do wrong. How do you talk to them about that, or what does I Understand do with that?
I think that it's so natural. For me, I would ask those same questions, like, what didn't I see? You hear so many people say, well, you just have to smile at some. I've listened to somebody say, well, they didn't jump off the Golden Gate Bridge because somebody took that minute to smile at them. But it goes so much deeper than that. And if we look at suicide as a side effect of an illness, chances are they had some type of illness, whether it was anxiety, whether it was depression, were they being bullied at school? And when you understand those things and all of the implications that come to a loss by suicide, you're able to understand and see it more clear and take that guilt away.
You offer support groups monthly here in the West Michigan area, but you also reach out to the whole world with your message. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about how that works.
Okay. Well, when we reach out to the whole world, I think that that's an easy thing to do today with the social media that we have. And we do, our biggest impact and our biggest followers are on Facebook, and that gives us a worldwide reach. And we have been able to give away the t-shirts to hopefully bring understanding and comfort to other communities. But our support group here locally is every third Wednesday of the month, and we support those that have had loss to death by suicide. And it's such a wonderful group of community where we can all go and we all have the same feelings, and our feelings can be validated. What I'm really excited about is that I'm working on a 4-week workshop that is called the Love Heals Workshop, and that is for people that are caretakers, that they have someone that may be struggling, or they have had someone that had an attempt, and how do we support them? How do we talk to them? So I'm really excited about that being introduced in the fall.
Well, and that's a really stressful time. You are trying to take care of maybe your home, your family, your loved one that's struggling, and you get lost. You had some health issues related to stress.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you experienced?
Yeah. I think, as women, I think that we all have to go. And when you are truly a single parent with no one else carrying that burden almost of wondering, are my kids going to, for lack of a better word, choose what their dad did, even though we know that's not a choice. So all of the stress, I had a stress-induced heart attack, which is called a cardiomyopathy. And with cardiomyopathy, the cortisone releases under stress and causes the same type of damage to your heart that an actual heart attack would have. So I went through the same procedure. They actually went in to put a stent in. I woke up, though, it wasn't there because it was the stress. So we have to take such good care of ourselves and find those moments every day to find relaxation and stress techniques and find people that have the same type of understanding that we do, so we don't feel so alone.
What a wonderful group and service you are offering to our community and to the world to help people feel supported, to educate, give them hope.
That's what we hope to do. And I think that I have the passion that I have because I personally have experienced and I personally have lived it. My husband was 4th generation suicide. So I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that we had all of these mental health illnesses within the family. So I had to do whatever I could to do the best that I can to assure that we wouldn't have a fifth generation. As my children suffer with anxiety, depression, and definitely some post-traumatic stress from the loss of their dad. So we've had to learn how to cope and how to deal with this kind of thing. And I think that death by suicide and mental health illnesses are the things that people don't want to talk about, and they're embarrassed. That's why it's so important that we do, to take that stigma away.
If someone has a mental health crisis, an immediate crisis in their family, where do they go? What do they do?
Well, you definitely call 911, get them help immediately. Sometimes that's not always the case because of that embarrassment that's there. But I'm so proud of our partnership with Helen DeVos Children's Hospital because Dr. Beth Cowell, who is chief pediatric for behavioral health, recognized the importance of talking to children at such a young age and giving parents some signs to look for after a crisis.
So depression is not a diagnosis that picks an age group, right? It can start early in childhood, in teens, in young adults, in older adults.
Oh, depression, depression, death by suicide, addiction, none of that is discriminatory. I mean, it can happen to anyone of any race, any financial background, anything.
I think for parents, a lot of times they think it's taboo to talk about it. They think, well, if I talk about it, then I'm going to maybe put that into their head. So, like, to bring up the conversation with younger kids, how would you do that?
You know, that is such a great point to bring up because studies have shown that the opposite happens. When we're able to talk to our children openly and have conversation, they're more willing to open up back, whether it's to you or whether it's to somebody else. So keep talking and don't be afraid to talk because you could save somebody's life just by doing so. In our partnership with Helen DeVos Children's Hospital, we were able to develop care packages. So not only do we have an I Understand nurse that's at the hospital, we have an information care package that gives parents tips on how to talk to children, that gives people resources on where to go after. But some of the things is like, make sure that you tell them that you care, that tell them that you love them, tell them that they're important. If you're worried about them, do you see them not wanting to get out of bed? Are you watching and seeing changes in behavior? Ask. Are you, or say, I'm concerned because it seems that you're feeling angry and unhappy these days. You could say, I'm worried because I've noticed you've been crying a lot lately. I worry about your safety when I see this type of behavior.
Do you have a sheet or something that our listeners could download on your website? Or is this on your website?
This has been posted on our website, but I think that's a great idea. I think that we definitely could get this up to download. And also one thing that we offer for free is some therapy pages. They're like adult coloring pages because it's so important to distract our mind when you have anxiety and depression.
If our listeners want to find out more information about I Understand Love Heals, where do they go?
We have a Facebook page, I Understand, lowercase I. Our website is www.iunderstandloveheals.com. But I just want to put out there, too, that if anyone is suffering, anybody feels the need to talk, that there are national numbers that are available 24/7, and it's 1-800-273-TALK.
Okay, 1-800-273-TALK. That's the National Suicide Hotline.
Yep.
You can find Vonnie's information at iunderstandloveheals.com, and you can find her on Facebook at I Understand, lowercase I.
Yep, you got it.
Well, Vonnie offered a lot of wonderful information today. We have tools available on our website for stress management. That is at simplysuccessfulprogram.com. We thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Vonnie.
Yeah, thank you both.
Take care.